Yeah, thanks so much for joining us and chatting with us. We're really excited to feature UpSkill. Can you just maybe go over a little bit about like UpSkill Digital's vision for inclusive training? Because that was a big component when I was on your website and kind of reading about what you offer people.
So a big part of what we use Spiffio for is, at the moment, we're only using it on one project. So a bit about us. So our UpSkill Digital are an online skills agency, and we work with clients to deliver their program. So it falls into one of three. So we focus, and my team predominantly focus on social impact. We also have the diversity and inclusion pillar, and then the workforce upskilling pillar. At the moment, we're just using Spiffio in our social impact pillar, predominantly in the Google Digital Garage UK and the Google Digital Garage Ireland projects, the online webinar projects. Now, we are using them solely on our webinar delivery. So that's run on YouTube Live, but we use StreamYard to run that. And UpSkill Digital and Google have always had, inclusivity at the start and forefront of what we do. So all of the content that we create from the visual aspect is always inclusive in the colors that we use, the sizing that we use, that we, avoid certain colors clashing with one another, so anyone with color blindness or any impairment to seeing is able to absorb the content. We also keep the content live on YouTube for 24 hours so that anybody who maybe needs to go back and rewatch it or learns in a different capacity, or it's just to ensure that there's asynchronous learning available. And Google always also have that message as well. So we're a delivery partner on behalf of Google for their corporate social responsibility program, which is the Google Digital Garage. And that we only use Spiffio on the webinars at the moment, but there was also scope to use it on another project, which unfortunately got cancelled, but the team might be looking at something in the future as well, is with YouTube Black Voices Fund. And that was with translating from Portuguese into English and English into Portuguese, so that everybody on the call could understand one another as well.
And you said that was YouTube Black Voices?
Yeah, so YouTube Black Voices Fund, although we didn't actually go ahead with that, but I know they cancelled it for now, but there is potential scope in the sort of later end of the year. I think they're looking at Q4 maybe. So if and when that comes around, I'll be in touch. But the actual only project we have executed it on is the Google Digital Garage UK webinars, and we also used Spiffio to help us with some transcribing work. That was just more from a workload perspective. We used it just because we didn't have scripts for 90 videos that were on the Digital Garage YouTube page, and we didn't really want to sit and listen and transcribe it by hand. So it was a really handy tool when the team said that it was something that was able to be facilitated just by uploading the video onto the software, and then boom, there was a script, which made life for our trainers to audit the content really easily and so much quicker. So we were able to shorten our delivery, like our timelines.
And this is a transcript. Is this part of the training materials that participants get, or is it, like the running transcript on the side when they're watching the YouTube?
So the transcribing work was somewhat separate. So it still sits under the Google Digital Garage. It's just a separate piece of work. So on the Google Digital Garage site, there's an online course called The Fundamentals of Digital Marketing. It's an accreditation with the Open University in the UK, and it's a 40-hour digital marketing course that's run through videos, quizzes, and like reading material. That course is coming up to about 10 years old, so there are some things on there that needed auditing, and it's still something that we are working towards, and auditing those videos was sort of the first step. And in order to do so, had to transcribe all of the videos. So that's where Spiffio really came into to help us, and also might be something we're not really sure where that project is going. We've had a few discussions on, transcribing. So there also could be scope for in the future using Spiffio for this project. We're just not really sure what it looks like yet, because we're still very much in the brainstorming stages, but I'll let you know if anything happens with that. But actually being able to know that the capabilities of Spiffio has really helped us with what we're pitching to them, because we know that you can facilitate the live captioning, the translation, stuff like that. So it is something that's really helping us when we're thinking about the possibilities with that project. But with the Google Digital Garage UK, it really came in handy having the tool, because we were using a free cloud-based AI that was just online, worked with OBS, which was the streaming service that we were using. And the only reason we were using that was I'm actually not sure why we were using it. It was a conversation I was not part of 2 years ago. You know, StreamYard really became quite a good apparent tool for us to use, and it actually became a lot more of a digitally inclusive tool as well. We have 30 trainers that we used to use quite regularly for our face-to-face events, and we went down to 4 to start with, because we just did not have the ability to virtually stream on OBS, and it's such a tech heavy piece of like software that it just wasn't really very accessible for most of our trainers, which meant that we had to really cut down on the amount of trainers we used. We were using the same people. They were getting quite burnt out as well, because they were just doing it day in, day out.
And so you had to, that kind of forced you to select for people who knew how to work with the technology and like could handle that load, right?
Yeah, and we went through lots of training to get them up to use OBS, and even then there was still so much room for error, and it was very buggy. There we used to have 45 minutes to a 30-minute like tech check time, which now we just don't use, because we have StreamYard, which is such an easy platform to use. And then but the main issue that arose when we were thinking about moving from OBS to StreamYard was the captioning. We once it's only happened once, thankfully, but we did once get a complaint saying that there was no captioning on our live webinars, and that really sped up our process of trying to find something. And that's where we came across this cloud AI. But unfortunately, the thing with the cloud AI was it was on screen all the time. You couldn't opt out to have it, and a lot of the time our trainers are from all across the UK, so they have all kinds of different accents. And so some people who had more Midlands or like Northern accents, it's the cloud AI struggled a little bit. So, and it actually got to the point where the captions were more distracting than they were helpful. So we wanted, and they didn't look particularly very clean. Just were very distracting, to be honest. And so when we were doing research towards the end of last year, trying to see how can we, because the idea was that we were reducing the amount of webinars we were doing, but we were improving the quality. So it was very much quality over quantity. So we one of the main things was what works with StreamYard, and unfortunately the answer is not really anything other than Spiffio. So I did do my market research, and Spiffio came up as one of the main leading closed captioning softwares that could plug into Spiffio, and then chatted to the team about what we were looking to accomplish with it, and then checked with the Google team that they were all happy with going ahead with it. And that was pretty much it. And ever since we've had some teething problems with some trainers, but we have some that are a little bit less tech, not so much less tech able, but they're just some are a little bit more clued up with what's going on than others, and some train more often than others as well. So you do get the odd trainer that maybe hasn't done a delivery in about 2 months, and then they go to do a training session and they're not sure how to use it. So Maverick's been super helpful with onboarding our trainers, and taking the time for some more one-on-one help as well. We did do an onboarding with them, and what's good for them is actually UpSkill do a section of it. So when we create the YouTube links, our internal team do a lot of it, and then just when it gets to the actual going live part, the trainer picks it up. So we've seen great success. And what's good about it as well is we just find that it's not distracting. So it's an option there if people need it, if people want it. Whereas before, the issue we had was it was just there and it was distracting. So it's been a great addition. I love the fact that there's the ability to make the text bigger, smaller, different colors. And it's funny because we don't particularly get feedback from people, so people don't specifically go, oh, the captions are fantastic, because it's also, we're at a day and age where you somewhat expect there to be subtitles. I put my hand up, I don't have any hearing inabilities or issues, but I still like having subtitles on, and I will actually not watch something and move to a different streaming web service if it's running that to have captioning, just because I don't know, like to read. Yeah, so whilst we don't hear from people to say, oh, it's fantastic that you've got the captioning, we know that we are making sure that the webinars are accessible for everybody, and that anybody can listen, watch, learn if they need to. And that's really at the core of what Google, and obviously UpSkill as well, support Google in doing, is just making sure that learning is accessible for everybody.
Yeah, and we do know that captions, people are watching videos more and more on silent, and it helps with comprehension and engagement, and especially for English language learners, being able to go back and read as well as listen is super helpful. So yeah.
Hey, Aimee, I have questions about the hybrid, right? So you're going hybrid now. People teaching in person. How do you display the captions in the in-person meeting? Do you use Spiffio audience views or?
So that's not something we've actually started to. We've actually done one face-to-face training, which launched last Monday, and we've got more happening from the next couple of weeks. And that's actually something that is it is on my to-do list to find a way to have closed captioning at these live events, because again, that's now, when you think back to it, we're now actually not being inclusive when it comes to face-to-face, because people can be talking but they can't hear, so yeah, we do have a big screen at these training sessions, and in an ideal world, that'd be great to be able to facilitate live captioning, and happy to chat at a later date and explore that, because it is something that has crossed my mind. I've just unfortunately not been able to get to it, just because there's been some other bits. But yeah, is that something that Spiffio has done and is able to provide?
Yes. So short answer is yes, but should probably schedule a meeting to give you a quick demo how that works.
Yeah, no, that'd be great. Put something in the diary in the next couple of weeks, if that's okay.
Sure.
Just because I do have another team member that's joining, that's going to sort of take up some more of the logistic side of things, so she'll be able to probably give you some more attention than me, because
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, no, that is definitely something, and it's something I'm going to raise in the next meeting that I have with the Google team about captioning at these face-to-face events, because we just, I think we do ask when we have the registration page if there's any special requirements needed, just again to make sure that we have, wheelchair accessible areas and stuff like that. But again, it's been such a long time since people have done face-to-face events. Like for us, it's been 2 years, and we're only slowly but surely going back to it. So knowing that is a possibility is super handy.
Yeah, great. Yeah, we'll schedule some time with you and your colleagues. My other questions is you mentioned about the how you able to Spiffio is help you to shorten the transcriptions project, right? You got 90 videos or so, and you're able to reduce the time to deliver from 12 months to within the month you're done. Is that a correct understanding?
I don't think it wasn't quite 12 months. I think we quoted it was going to take us about 2 to 3 months to transcribe all of the work and audit it. I think actually in the end, to download and re-upload and the actual transcribe tool to work took a couple of days, which was really important, which actually gave our trainers the ability to really focus, because they still took, I think in the end they spent a month auditing the content, but actually that was a month of actually doing the work as opposed to a month of transcribing, which is what we'd initially thought. And so it really reduced our timelines down massively with that project, because a lot of the heavy lifting of just getting the script was covered.
Yeah, great. That's a great story. Thank you. And one last one, sorry. What happened to the Ireland project?
It's still going on. Our Ireland's kind of taken a bit of a curveball one. They've actually, a lot of the restrictions in Ireland have lifted really suddenly over the last, I say suddenly, over the last month or so. So the plans for it being all online is actually kind of pivoted. So I'm going to chat to Savasya about the in-person captioning, because I think that's going to be something that they'll also be interested in. So I'll let her know that that's also available. But yeah, it genuinely has just been that Ireland is now somewhat more open than it used to be. So yeah, they're doing more in-person events, because a lot of people are getting a bit webinar fatigue, so it's that's why we're sort of making the pivot to online. But it's also great to know that captioning is still available online as well, because we do have screens at these events. If we're lucky, sometimes when we have larger events, we have multiple screens throughout the venue which we show the slides on. So knowing that feature is available is super helpful.
Right.
It looks like you did quite a bit of work to basically pivot during pandemic, right? Because everything went online, but that also seems to have provided you with quite a bit of opportunity. Are some of the things that you learned from that experience something that you can kind of bring forward as we move more into a hybrid or in-person environment?
So UpSkill Digital was very lucky in that we pivoted very quickly to online. If we take, I only work on the Google Digital Garage, so a lot of my experience comes from that, and seeing the way that the world has changed in the last 2 years. This way of working with it being hybrid is certainly going to be the way that people move forward, because although webinars, there is that Zoom webinar fatigue, ultimately the positive use of virtual learning is that it is more inclusive, and it does give people the ability to learn from wherever they are. If they're on the go, if they're on their way to work and they wanted, quick bite-sized learning, they can. And Google was really great in being able to pivot quickly. I think we started delivering online training in April, like the end of April. So in about a month's time, we pivoted our content and we got our trainer, those 4 only, but trainers online. And we didn't actually kick into gear with captions until about a year in. And that's, so again, you think of that was a whole year of not being able to provide for everybody, which was a shame. But inclusivity has always been a real key part of, again, not only UpSkill but Google as well.
It sounds like your format has a webinar, but also opportunities for students to reach out to instructors for that interactive component.
Yes, so with Google, we do online mentoring as well as in person, and we do have an option on our website about on the Google website about mentoring, and if there's any special changes that need to be made. Weirdly, we always get a lot of people that join the calls and the mentoring sessions from their car, which is really frustrating. But we support mentoring, and it's usually predominantly done online. And we found that actually, even when we've done face-to-face learning, like face-to-face mentoring, people still want to be online. And we haven't actually had to use captioning on any of our mentoring sessions thus far, but it is always something that we take into consideration when facilitating it.
And how would you say UpSkill is different than some of the other organizations that offer job training and opportunities for people to kind of close that digital skills gap?
UpSkill Digital has been going for 7 years now. We actually just celebrated our 7th birthday, and
congrats.
Thank you. And it's always been about like building skills for inclusive and equitable workspaces, and just making sure that it's suitable for all. So I don't know if you've seen on our website, but it's really great. Like Soundbite is our mission that's recently actually changed, but it's still still the core of what we do, which is to provide world-class learning solutions that equip those that need skills, confidence, and pathways to succeed. And they all focus on just upskilling and giving people the tools that they need to progress, whether that be we work directly with employers with that workforce upskilling. So we worked with at the start of the pandemic, we worked with a lot of businesses to actually just onboard people how to use like MS Teams and Zoom. And then you've also got, through workforce upskilling, we've got the Department of Education, so the government body in the UK. We have helped create an entire boot camp for them that is to help people become more employable. So at the end, they're guaranteed a job interview, and they go through all these different ways to upskill themselves to become a more employable person. Then the other side, outside of social impact, is diversity and inclusion. That's just to build a more diverse and inclusive workspace. And then we've got the social impact side, which again is really focused around corporate social responsibility programs. And I think that's where we maybe, I would say, stand out, is the fact that it's not just one focus. So we don't just focus on diversity and inclusion. We don't just focus on workforce upskilling. We span across all of those 3 different pillars that then within them have many sub pillars. And yeah, I think if we have time before, anything's shared, and I'll check with my team to see, it might be a great opportunity to speak to someone else on our team that will be able to talk about upskill, and maybe our CEO Gory, because he's a fantastic speaker, and B, he's very passionate about upskill and what we do and the growth that we've had. So yeah, if that's something that's A, you want to explore, or B, possible, do let me know, because he's definitely better at talking about upskill than me, because it's his baby, and has really helped cultivate it over the last 7 years.
Yeah, I mean, what really struck me is that you have a really large number of partnerships, and you're very human centered, which, like, at Spiffio, we work the same way. Like, the tools should serve the people that are using them. And so, like, when we're working with different clients and partners, we do everything from choosing better captioning engines, or making it possible for them to scale up, or like if their event has like a last minute change, which a lot of them do, right? We have different ways to deliver caption in those situations. So yeah, it's been pretty exciting to be able to support UpSkill and Google Digital Garage with a lot of these training opportunities, and just seeing like how to, I guess, best equip like the workforce of tomorrow, right? And giving the people who need the skills the most those opportunities in a way that they can really benefit from them.
Yeah.
Right?
One follow-up question to Audrey's comment. What kind of metrics that you guys like monitoring or measuring? I'm curious, particularly like before you were using OBS and the that other tool, and after you switch to Spiffio, I wonder if you kind of see the difference, the metrics, anything that you could share with us, that would be great.
So the way with the Google Digital Garage, a lot of ours, it's the same metric that we use, which is basically just like the amount of live viewers. So we use the like peak number of viewers on the live webinar. And the only problem is it wouldn't be a somewhat fair comparison, because when we went into 2022, which is when we started using Spiffio, we actually reduced the amount of webinars we do. So we've actually seen an increase of people on them, but that's because we're offering far less. So we went from doing 4 webinars a day, then down to 3, and now down to 1, and that's excluding any partnered ones that we do. So yeah, unfortunately it wouldn't be a fair comparison to like the data wouldn't be able to be compared, unfortunately, because it just wouldn't align equally.
Okay. To Google, this is like very effective outreach then, and they're measuring the result probably in terms of like not only how many people sign up, how many people pass the quiz or the test, right? How many people getting employed, right? Because of this program.
Yeah, so we do case studies, which is we follow someone's journey, whether they've done mentoring and if they've attended any webinars, and then we check in within like 6 months time, 8 months time, and then see how they've been getting on. And that's sort of how Google measure impact. There are numbers, and we do try to understand how many trained users we've had, but yeah, it's a very human centric like story of impact, and that's what we find with the case studies. And yeah, no, it would be fantastic, and I'm sort of keeping my eye out, especially with these face-to-face events, to see if there is somebody that does have a positive impact from being able to attend an event with closed captioning. So I would love to hopefully see something like that in the next couple of months with one of these events that we go to, once we establish the live captioning at face-to-face events, because that would be a wonderful story as well.
Agree. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we'd love to feature that as well.
Yeah, don't worry, I've got my eye on it. So yeah, we'll once we get it established, and we do ask our attendees what their feedback is, and it's one of those things, again, like I mentioned, we don't tend to get much feedback, but a lot of the time people give us feedback when they're unhappy. Like again, we mainly kicked into gear about the feedback, about the captioning, because somebody was very vocal about the fact that we weren't providing captioning, and therefore it wasn't really inclusive for them to learn. And that's again what kicked us into gear to get it going and to get it working. So no news is good news, unfortunately, with working with Google sometimes.
Well, I mean, it sounds like there's some exciting projects planned for hybrid and potentially translation and whatnot. And translation is always interesting, because we have great technology, but being able to add that human touch sometimes makes all the difference in terms of translation. And so, we have different setups in Spiffio to make that happen. I did have one question actually from your email. You said something about the AI being useful because you were able to put all the speaker guides from Google Digital Garage courses together.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't actually know what speaker guides were, so I was going to ask you.
Oh, that's right.
So on all of our presentations, we run them on Google Slides, and they have the speaker notes at the bottom. So we copied all of our speaker notes into a document and then ran them through the AI. So basically, when someone's talking about SEO, search engine optimization, rather than it saying like SEO, as in like trying to spell it out as words, it capitalizes it as SEO, as like the acronym. Yes, acronym's the right word.
Okay. Were you using the auto replacement database for that kind of stuff?
Yeah, that well, yeah. So like, for example, Google being capitalized with the G, and like Google Digital Garage being capitalized with GDG and stuff like that. And yeah, the trainers go in and like, replace some of the words as well that they know are going to be sort of, again, like SEO is the one that always comes to mind because it's one that always repeatedly goes wrong.
Yeah. So you're using auto replacement, and are you releasing captions from script or just training the AI to know what to replace things with?
I think it was just training the AI, I believe, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, that's really great that you were able to use that capability, especially with such field specific terminology. So
that was one of the positives as well, was just being able to just run it through so that when it does, when the trainers do say specific things, it's more likely to caption it following what they're what it's been taught to say or taught to caption. So that definitely, because again, comes back to what was really distracting about the other one, was just how wrong the captions were, which is again very distracting and a hindrance to learning actually. So it just improved that quality over quantity aspect that we were really going for.
Great. Thank you so much, really appreciate it.
Thank you a lot. Thanks a lot, Aimee.
Spiffio, access in any language.